And the game of the year is...
I didn't mean for this to happen. I meant to be a good little gamer boy and play a bunch of new games in 2024. There's only one problem with being a good little gamer boy. It's expensive. And I'm what some tax brackets would call poor. Coming into the year, the only game I was truly looking forward to was Eastward's DLC release, Octopia. And a side note, that little DLC is without a doubt my runner-up. And I know Eastward has mixed reviews, but I absolutely adore that game. And its DLC is cheap and fun. In terms of other games released this year, after Mario and Luigi was announced, I was confident that once it was released, the rest of my year would be happily spent on the Brothership. And like Superstar Saga, a new game would join the list of my all-time favorite RPGs. I even planned my replay of Super Mario Odyssey around the release of Mario and Luigi Brothership. It was going to be my birthday game. The game you play around your birthday is a big deal, as I am sure you are aware. But as we got closer to that release, the talk was just mixed enough that I didn't buy it right away. Usually, I know when I'm gonna like a game, and I don't let reviews dictate too much. At least, I'm not gonna let a number on a scale, see IGN, dictate whether I buy a game or not. But I follow enough people that I trust that I can tell from what they are saying about their experience whether I'll like it or not. And I think I will like Mario and Luigi Brothership, but $60, it might be a fair price. But that doesn't change grocery prices, and the talk had such a resounding meh around it that I couldn't do it. Instead, I focused on the latest Haruki Murakami release. I spent that money to go buy the new book at a midnight party in another city. Look, I know, a book took precedence over a video game. I'm a bad little gamer. Hope nobody spanks me with a Wii Sports tennis racket. But there was chatter around a game that was far better than meh. This chatter grew into a scream saying, "This is the game for you." Part of the discourse was the idea that this was the best 3D platformer since Super Mario Odyssey, and maybe even a little better. And of course that game was Astro. This might be slightly presumptuous, but I know myself, and I know what I like. And I know I'd love Astrobot. It probably would have been my game of the year. Astrobot is a game I am dying to get my hands on. After its release in September, hearing all this positive talk, I thought to myself, is it time? Should I get a PS5? So far, not having one has been completely fine. I've got God of War and GT7 and many others on my PS4. The only thing before this that has kept the PS5 in my head has been Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, a series I love. But buying a system for literally one game is something I wouldn't do even if I wasn't a peasant. My original launch 2017 Switch, the Xbox Series S, and my PS4 is an incredibly affordable gaming setup. And in terms of hardware, I've spent less than the cost of a PS5 for nearly a decade now. But will adding Astrobot to the wish list get me to finally pull the trigger? No. Listen, I'm on the precipice of not being a poorsy, but I feel like this purchase would set back my financial goals just enough that it's not worth it. Let's just set up a little side account to start saving up so that by the time the new Ghost game comes out, I'll be feasting on Ratchet, Ghost, and Astro. And what a nobleman's feast it will be. Look, I know I'm going on and on about financials, but I don't see enough people being honest about the reality a lot of gamers have. And it's not just being poor and being slightly hyperbolic. It's just about not being rich, having more than one hobby. It's financial plans, tackling debt, saving for a major purchase. And I'll say it one more time, games are expensive. And though I do love the freedom of being an adult, it comes with responsibilities. And besides, we have Astrobot Back Home. Except in this case, the Astrobot Back Home is a goddamn masterpiece.
Super Mario Odyssey!
The thought of doing an Odyssey replay has been bouncing in my head since my replay of Breath of the Wild in 2023. Replaying big tentpole games like this is not a decision I make lightly. And this isn't like a shorter indie, it's not a more contained experience, and it's also not like a game like Skyrim where I just always have a save of Skyrim going. Skyrim is the screensaver of our lives. Skyrim is the blanket folded on the couch to put on whenever you're just a little chilly. For most big games and series where the mainline game comes out every half to almost full decade, a replay is a big deal. I attribute this to the part of my personality where I build things up bigger than they probably are, not always in a bad way, and I don't want to live life without pedestals, so fuck off. Romanticize your life, I insist. I think about Odyssey a lot. And what stuck with me the most is 1, the incredible joy it instilled in me, and 2, the hat throwing / capturing mechanic is an absolute revelation of game design. But there's also another thought that creeps into my brain, and that's that I played this the same year as Breath of the Wild, a game in my top 2 of all time, but it would be nice to play this game in a year without as much noise. So, in the waning days of summer 2024, I reconnected with Mario and Cappy of the Cap Kingdom. As we enter the skies above Peach's castle, I'm reminded of how monumental this felt. Something about starting the game with Mario being punch-wrecked by Bowser in a wedding suit lends gravitas to what is a beautifully silly endeavor. You know, Odyssey gives a similar feel as Galaxy, which conveys monumental stakes. Galaxy with opening on pure destruction and galactic mayhem, and then there's Odyssey matching this feeling by using the wedding theme for the game. It's weird, but it works. The word Odyssey carries so much weight, and the thought of Bowser marrying Peach feels more important than a normal game. This is much more important than she in my castle. It's not Bowser putting a flower or fairy in a jar. This is bigger. This is matrimony. A lot of discussion goes in Nintendo focusing on gameplay and then story. Be that as it may, things like Splatoon, Mario, Zelda, and others can really get me with their stories. Even Kirby stories get me. And a good Mario story is pretty simple. It's a weird stake that works for the characters, and then the rest is just freaking vibes. And Odyssey's story works for me. From the simple, in the skies above Peach's castle, all the way to its musical and raucous conclusion. Now, I know the story worked for me because, well, I like Mario the character, as well as Peach and Bowser. I know they're not fucking Holden Caulfield or anything, but they're still fun characters that we spent plenty of time with. This game is a testament to what you can do with a good design and accumulated time together. This works for Mario as a series and a character, but just look at Cappy. Cappy is a hat. And I know I have a predisposition to liking hats, but it still stands to reason that I should not have grown to love a talking hat. But here we are. My hat and I am Mario, are going on an adventure. The reason for going on a worldwide odyssey is because, let me check my notes, it's Big Bad Turtle Man wants to have dream wedding. Bowser is the ultimate bridezilla as he seeks out the perfect dress, ring, flower, food. This game is about the catering for his wedding. He could really be my hero if this wedding was consensual. If you glance over that last part, you have a really fun story and a reason for going to all these unique locales. Making stops to fight dragons or have a meta celebration of the game series you are playing just amp up all of the joy. I won't glance over this. New Donk City is such a magical part of the game. Having a place called New Donk City. It's called New Donk City. What a great name. Having a place called New Donk City and having it be where the series started and making Pauline Maire is perfectly self-aggrandizing move by Nintendo. We are happy to aggrandize it. Life is too short not to buy in. And I know it's the same company with a despicable law practice, but the hand of the developers in this series is worth aggrandizing. You feel the hand of the developer, and I truly felt that in New Donk City. Not only is it chock full of smiling, inducing Easter eggs, but it's the perfect sandbox for Mario Odyssey's tools. One of the main reasons the story stays with me is the ending. Sticking the landing is one of the hardest things to do in all of media. It's hard enough to do with writing and visualizations like cinematography, but in games, you also have to make it mechanically satisfying. This is fumbled so often in gaming. And for the beautifully stupid world where the main character is named Mario, the fact that the ending is perfectly executed is non compos mentis. The final boss battle builds on the previous matchup and uses your tools and skills in a way that feels natural to the rest of the game. And then to have Mario throw Cappy at Bowser, though delightfully shocking at the time, in retrospect, it's the only way to end this game. You're used to capturing things at this point and having the controls feel different. So it's not unnatural for you to have a different style of play at the end. It's in line with the rest of the game. And then you marry all of this with the visuals, the homages, and don't undersell this point, the music. And it caps off with a fantastic character moment for all three main characters that has resonated throughout the internet, for better or for worse. Unlike Nintendo, I started with the story before talking about gameplay. Shame on me. I have touched on this already, but Cappy is a revelation. Throwing your cap in a variety of different ways is incredibly satisfying and feels completely natural for Mario. Going back to Mario 64, the controls are great for the time, but have been so greatly improved on, it just doesn't quite hold up. And also the punch kind of feels weird and clunky to me. It never landed right. The controls of Sunshine are just a bit too finicky and at times glitchy. 3D World is a Frankenstein of Mario Brothers and Super Mario, so it feels weird to compare them. And then there's Galaxy. The Galaxies are near perfect. Odyssey is such a perfect advancement of what Galaxy did. Odyssey Mario improves on the near-perfect control of Galaxy Mario and adds an exemplary, game-changing mechanic. The sheer amount of moons and the size of the sandbox locations results in a great game. The locales gave the developers ample opportunity to craft some of the best challenges and platforming yet. It also gives the player the perfect sandbox to experiment and go beyond the custom-designed challenges and make their own. You can mainline the game and have a tight, satisfying 10 to 12 hour experience. You can pick it up over a weekend and replay just the main story, knock it out, and feel satisfaction and joy course through your body before the Sunday scaries set in. But as the Mario team is wont to do, you could mainline it and walk away, or you could push beyond and settle in for an 80-hour immersion of challenging and unique moon hunting. I think mine was roughly 80 hours this year. And this culminates with Darker Side of the Moon, which on my first playthrough I kind of just gave up on. I got a few more moons and then said, I've loved my time, thank you. I've visited Peach and all the other kingdoms. This has been fun, thank you. This time around, however, I was determined to 100% this game. I rarely do that with games, but when a game is so perfectly crafted and feels so great to play, 100%ing it is just an added bonus. 100%ing Mario Odyssey feels like a true Odyssey. A Herculean effort that sees Odysseus reunited with his son, Peace brought to Ithaca. Penelope is back in your arms, and you've hanged some maids for some reason, which seems unnecessary. No, wait, wrong Odyssey. We're talking about Super Mario Iliad. After Herculean effort, you've got all the moons, scaled the tallest towers, and put a literal cap on the game. It's been one of the most enjoyable 100% playthroughs of a game I've done, and it's much more satisfying than reading Homer's The Odyssey. When I think about a potential sequel to Odyssey, I can only think of one critique to address. More variety in captures. At the end of the day, the number of captures that present a fun twist in gameplay is not that high. A lot of captures fall into the category of move this thing. My only request for a sequel would be more captures, more sandboxes, more enemies, more plats to form. I think that ship has officially sailed. One of the main reasons I wanted to replay Odyssey in 2024 is because I am 99.9% sure the Switch 2 will launch with the next tentpole Super Mario game, or at least it's happening this year, 2025. And after replaying Breath of the Wild a little too close to Tears of the Kingdom, I wanted to get my full replay in before 2025. I have no idea what the next Super Mario will be like, but based on the masterpiece of Odyssey, I'm feeling pretty confident.
And the game of the year is... Astrobot!
Some people were surprised when Astrobot walked away with Game of the Year. Other nominations clearly took more technical processing. They were harder. They were big boy games. They had pores in the skin and realism and longer playtimes. So why would Astrobot win? Well, if that's you, I'd ask you to introduce a little more nuance in your life. First off, picking a Game of the Year is too subjective. Think about it. How can a 3D platformer compete with a deck building game? They're fundamentally different things, so how can they compete? I guess you just have to have it come down to two things. Did you have a good time? As in to say, which game was the most fun to play? And fun might be satisfaction, it might be extracting emotion, it might be overcoming a hard obstacle. And then the follow-up question would be, did it stick with you? Did the enjoyment or that other feeling stick with you after you stopped playing? I'm guessing most people who voted in the Game Awards had the most fun this year playing Astrobot. And that stuck with them. And that's why Super Mario Odyssey is my Game of the Year for 2024. I've never said New Donk City this much out loud. I should do it more.